Hello, guys. What's good, man? This is Eastman Child Podcast back here with your one and only host, Glory Boy, here with our next special guest in the building. And like I always say, man, I'm going to continue to work so hard to bring amazing guests on this show. A lot of guests with different life experiences, different lessons that they can teach to the youth and just to anyone in general. And these two amazing guests, they have been in the educational field for a very long time. Basically, they're educational advisors, consultant. They have their own business, Zell Educational Group Associate, and they're both retired high school principals. And it's an honor to have both of them on this show. And how are you guys doing today?
Doing pretty well.
We're doing well. Thank you
yeah.
for having us.
Yeah,
Glory.
it's a
Thank
wonderful day in Buffalo today. As
It
you can
is.
see, the weather.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Fall.
Most definitely.
Nice.
So I want you guys to actually introduce yourselves. And before they introduce themselves, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video. Just tell the people who you are and what you do, and then we can start the conversation.
So I am Gabrielle Morquecho, and I am a principal in the Buffalo Public School System. I started as a principal in 2000. So I've been a principal in Buffalo schools for about 24, 25 years. And I had the privilege of being at elementary level, middle school level, age level, and high school level. So it's been a good run. I'm retired and I'm now a consultant because our passion is to give back.
Most definitely.
I'm Rafael Mercado. I've been in education for about 32 years altogether. It's been an honor from the beginning to give back to the schools and to the students mainly. That was our focus. I've been also an assistant principal, acting principal in middle school, high school, and also in elementary.
It's crazy how you both have done the same things. And that's true soulmate right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, take us back though to when it all started, because we all have different childhood experiences. Like me, for example, if I was to talk about myself, like I came from Africa at a young age, came to America, and from here, this is where I am right now. About you guys, if you could just take us back to when it all started, your childhood, where you was born, and yeah.
Ladies first.
Oh, there you go. So I've been born here in Buffalo, New York. My father was a social worker, and he was a director of People Incorporated, which was services to the mentally disabled adults. So basically, the adults that he served as a director at work they were mentally retarded. They were pretty cognitively delayed. And he took my two sisters and I to work with him often so that we got to see how happy the work was. It was very fulfilling working and finding out how best to teach, how best to support developmentally delayed people and their struggles. And so watching that through my life, I think I always saw the passion. I saw the laughter. I saw the support, the love that basically they were giving people, and to make them functional and to do well in life and live on their own. So I became a certified special education teacher, and so did my sister, by the way. We both have talked about not only students that struggle with behavioral learning issues at all different levels, and our passion has been with finding the strategies that work for kids so that they can be as successful as they can be. We want them to do well in life. We want to give them all the skills, give them all the edge that they can have so that they're successful and happy and be fulfilled in their own way.
Most definitely. I mean, that's what we need today too. As you can see, a lot of youth do need that support. I always talk about mentorship. Like mentorship is something that we never really, like when I was growing up, even when I was in high school, I never really had a lot of mentors. But now it's a lot of people that are doing mentorships, and a lot of youth really need to take advantage of it. And how about your story though?
I grew up in Dominican Republic. Like you, I came to the States in high school. They didn't know English, So I always say, and please keep this among us, don't spread it. I learned English watching, in high school, watching Sesame Street. Kermit the Frog and I were really, really tight. So I learned, at the same time I was going to high school, I was learning English. My saving grace was that I always loved mathematics and science. So to this day, I remember the first day I came to the States, I ended up being handed an exam, a math exam. And I got, to this day, I remember the score, a 96. I didn't know English, but I knew the mathematics. So when I went, and still struggling with English throughout my life, and to this day, I still am learning. I ended up graduating from high school and coming to the University of Buffalo for engineering. I did 3 years of engineering. While there, I ended up teaching my classmates DFQ, materials, Calc 1, 2, and 3. I fell in love with teaching. And my counselor said, Rafael, you are really a natural teacher. Go into engineering if you want, but I would consider going and teaching, because there was a need for good-minded Hispanics, blacks, whites, all races, to teach kids mathematics. So that's what I did. I went from UB to Buffalo State College at that time. Now it's Buffalo State University. But I had mentors, and you said mentors. I had mentors that looked at me and said, hey, you have a talent, let me help you. So then I got into teaching, I got into technology, taught technology, computers to students. And another good mentor, Dr. Reagan, ended up falling in my path, and I saw how good she was as a leader. And I ended up then going to the University of Buffalo and getting my administrative degree. And from there, like I said before, I went to elementary, middle school, high school. So.
Wow. So it sounds like education is very important, but a lot of people don't really see that, because now today we're taught that, don't go to college, do something else. And some people are telling us, especially because where I'm from, it's like going to college, it's like an honor. Mm-hmm. Like it's something that brings like honor to the family. Like you graduate, they celebrate, they tell everybody in the village like, oh, Glory graduated, But like, how important is education to you guys?
I think left to my own device, I would have never gone to college. My father was an auto body. I wanted to do that, but he says, no, this is a hard life. I want you to go and go to university. I believe there's a quote, Paul Freire, a great book, and he says that education is a subversive force. When I read that, and I've read it over and over again, that subversive force means that you can overcome whatever situation in life you find yourself. I took that as a mantle in whatever I did. Him and Jaime Escalante, when it came to educating Latinos in California, education is important. You don't have to go to college, but education, you can go and become a tradesman. And you wouldn't believe how much mathematics you need in trades. So, I'll stop that.
Well, education is extremely important. My father he was born in Mexico, in Aguascalientes, Mexico. And when he came to the United States with his brothers and sisters, they were very, very strict on education, getting an education, because in their view that education was the equalizer and that it would give you more opportunities later in life. If every person, every kid needs to read, they need the math, they need the skills to be successful later. And to me, when I was the principal at Hutch Tech and being a principal at all the other grade levels, we needed to develop the skills in the kids so that they would be functional and they could survive later in life and to do well in any career that they needed to that they chose.
Yeah. So I have a question for you guys. When we talk about education, you know how like today, a lot of people do graduate college and then end up not finding a job. Back then, it was a different story. You know, you graduate, you have your degree, you do your internship, and then you get a job easy. But like today, a lot of kids are being told that college is a scam. Do you believe college is a scam?
That's a hard question. To me, from what I've seen students having to take remedial courses in college, which burns up their funding, their grants, their scholarships. And then they choose a area in which there's not a high demand for that. On the other hand, there are opportunities that if you do and go into certain fields, there's more opportunity. So I think that it can be a scam if the students, the parents, the guidance counselors don't allow the students to see, hey, if you go into these fields, it might be more difficult. Going to school is not a scam when your attitude, the individual attitude, is I'm going to learn whatever I need to do to be successful. And that's when you said about mentors. I think that's where mentorship becomes extremely important.
I think that you also have to look at education and college or any learning opportunity as developing your understanding, because education is not pigeonholed in one area. To be well educated is to know something across fields.
Right.
So when you're in college, the good thing about college, I will say, is they would like you to explore the arts. They want you to explore the sciences. They want you to explore, obviously, the math and your electives. You'll learn a higher level of learning at all levels if you allow yourself. Right. And the same way in high school, and let's go to middle school and elementary school, students very often don't know what they're good at. What are your skills? What are your talents? If you don't delve into the learning and you're not exposed to things. So again, I'm going back to Hutch Tech. We wanted all of the students to be engaged fully because you don't know everything in school. You don't know the content. That's
Right.
why you're there, is to learn and explore. And while it's not a straight line to learn, you have to go through the hurricanes and the pitfalls and the struggles of maybe not doing well on a quiz, or, struggling with your learning. Maybe you're in a class that's rigorous and it's a struggle for you.
Right.
But if you don't explore it, you don't really know what you're good at. And you want to know a little bit or know something about each area. So I see education as opening doors. You're finding out about yourself, but you're also having an understanding, because life in a career isn't unilateral.
Right.
You don't only know one area. You've got to kind of apply. Let's say if in life you're in your career to earn an income. Well, where are you going to invest that income? So you need mathematical skills.
Right. And again, it's education teaches you how to think. If you go to college and you then choose whatever degree you want to study, as long as you take away how to think from that education, It doesn't necessarily be college. It might be a podcast. It might be YouTube. It might be book learning. It might be anything. As long as you take away, how can I learn? I'll tell you a quick story. I don't know your time constraint, but
we got enough time.
okay. So, because I had mathematics in I think it was differential equation, DFQs. The professor would assign 5 problems.
Okay.
I would do all the problems. Did that mean that I am an expert now? No. It meant that I had enough background knowledge that if a new problem came across me, I can use that background knowledge that I acquired in order to solve this problem that I didn't have. So education, if you take it that way, education and going to college, going to trade school, going, wherever, like Dr. Morquecho said, learning can occur anywhere.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And me, myself, I used to think, so when I graduated college, I went to Canisius University. I did communication studies, digital media arts. So then after I was done, it was so hard to find a job, and I was like, man, like, why did I waste all this time when I could have studied this like a long time ago? As soon as I graduated college, as soon as I graduated high school, I'm like, I could have just started doing all this stuff that I'm doing today. But then I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? I feel like with college, it kind of gave me that opportunity to actually sit down and figure out what I want to do in the future. When I did go ahead and do communication studies, I was able to also teach myself how to do all of this without having to think about, either going to like a different company or learning from people and so on. So now that I'm building my own skill set and I have the degree to prove it, I can actually go ahead outside in the world and actually show people, okay, I'm capable of doing this. I did the education part and I did the experience part. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, man, I feel like also another thing that I really like about school, just in general, because it kind of keeps you away from a lot of different things, especially like problems. When you have so much time in your hand, you're able to do everything. You can hang around, certain people, and then things may happen. And I always tell like my little brother, I'm like, if you don't want to go to college, but at least find something that's going to keep you busy in the meantime. I want to ask you guys, because I know school back then was totally different. You coming from Dominican Republic and also you being here in Buffalo. Me being from Congo, in school, your teacher was your second parent.
Right.
How was it for you guys?
No, you first.
Back, I'm dating myself. I feel like I'm back in the Stone Age. There was a lot of tracking. I'd call it tracking, where they had, these students were going to be college bound, and these students were in a group maybe that were not going to go to college, and you were going to get another job. Yes, they tracked. They called it tracking back then. They were very. It was a little more pigeonholed as far as what level of instruction you received back then. I think that they were trying to educate, and they were back then. That was just. It's not that they weren't trying. They were putting efforts into making sure that the kids were able to graduate and pass the classes. But you pretty much they were trying to educate all of us in the same way, pretty much, because there were a lot of kids that they had to pass through, and they wanted us to all to graduate.
But do you think the tracking thing is necessary today? Because there's a lot of kids who are confused on what they really want to do. And there's so many kids who are, let's say, they're very skillful in different trades, and there's some kids who are good in the books. Do you think it's necessary today? Do you think it's something that they should actually bring back in today's educational system?
Well, there will always be grouping of students, but you're grouping them now around the learning levels because you want to be able to bring the kids up to the highest level possible, and you want to push them so that if students have learning struggles, no matter whether they're on grade level, if they're a little below grade level, or if they're advanced, you want the rigor, you want to push them so that they're learning to the maximum level. But the goal has to be to get them to be proficient readers, to be proficient in math, to be proficient in their understanding of in social studies, global history, U.S. history, science, the sciences. You want to be able to give the kids a well-rounded education. And sometimes it is providing remedial opportunities. I think now there are more opportunities for students than there were back then, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when I came to the States in high school, they wanted to put me in special ed because I didn't know how to speak English. So my mother and dad, Lord bless them, because they went in and were with their broken English, said no, they're not special ed. And my brother and I went to the same high school and said no, we're not special. They're not special ed. They just don't know how to speak the language. So that from then, if track, and that's how different it is. Back then, they would track you and put you in these silos, and that was the bad part. Because they didn't test the ability. And again, in many ways, I was glad that when they gave me that first exam and I got that 96, I showed them, yeah, I may not know how to speak English, but I know how to do math.
Right.
The thing that I see now is, believe it or not, it's the reverse. They want everybody going to college. And if you take a look, after I retired, I went to get my electrical certification at Northland. You would not believe the amount of electricians, plumbers, construction, window hangers, the amount of jobs there. And I see that those opportunities are missing. So we went from everybody going to college to no one's going to go to college. There has to be a medium. There are some students that, yes, they belong in college and they want to go to college.
Right.
Other students want to go to the trade school, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
So
Yeah, most definitely. You said something about, let me go back here. Let's see. What's some of my notes? Okay, so I wanted to actually ask you guys this. Sorry, let's go back to this. Because today, AI is highly being used.
Yeah.
What's your take on AI?
I have to say, I use it all the time. I ask the craziest questions. I get they're comprehensive answers, the responses you get. I think I like the fact that it's sifting through a lot of information that's already out there, and they're synthesizing it so that you can use it as in any way you need to use that information. I'm concerned about how students might not think as deeply and critically with AI, because it might be easier to ask AI a question rather than, like you said, about trying to solve the math problem, that you would solve the 5 math problems because you were trying to stimulate your own thinking about the math.
it had a broader background on it.
Yes, but if you're reaching for AI frequently in order to do the thinking for you, then I can see how it would hinder.
I consider AI, again, I'm older, much older than anybody here put together. Actually, add all your ages, and I'm still older. I remember being the first one in Dominican Republic to have a calculator. Calculator only had 4 functions: add, subtract, multiplication, and division. And it was very limited. And when the calculators came out, everybody was in an uproar. Oh, the kids are not going to learn their multiplication table. And my response to that, if a kid doesn't know their multiplication table, guess what's going to happen when they would go 5 times 4, 20. 5 times 4, 20. 5 times 4, 20. They will memorize the multiplication table by doing it. I think there's a great opportunity, and that's a question that we have been talking about a lot in our conversation when it comes to education. How to incorporate it, how to help teachers, help students use AI, a tool, to do and think and do a better job. The mundane with AI can be done, and then maybe the stimulation between the student, the teacher, another administrator. How can we push that knowledge up?
Right.
And I think that to me, it's exciting. And if I can get excited at my age with AI, anybody can.
Yeah, I mean, because a lot of times that's what I wanted to ask, because you can use it, but don't let it do your work.
Right.
Like work with it. Some people just use it, and I feel like it makes you lazy. Now you can't even your critical thinking skills. You're losing it. You can't even think for yourself. I've tried to use AI a couple times, and I'll see it give me an answer. I'm like, okay, this is an answer. Okay, I got it. And then later on, and I'll think about it, I'll forget that answer because I just took that answer from AI. So I wasn't able to think for myself.
But I think if you ask a question of AI and they come up with an answer, and then you, like you say, let me think about that answer. Does that make sense? It's like with the calculators when a student punch in a number, and the number is the correct answer is 20, and they come up with 20,000. Oh, let me put 20,000. That shows that there's no interaction between the answer, the technology, AI, calculator, and yourself. So we have to, as educators, as leaders, we have to instill in not only the teachers but the student, think about what the technology answered you. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah. What do you think should be like? Because I know there's so much subjects in schools now. When I went to school, like when I was at Canisius, I took so many classes that I think I didn't really need. But like, what subjects do you think should be the most focused subjects in school systems?
I got to tell you, I'm going back to the basics. Kids have to master English. They have to speak. They have to understand, read English or the language. They have to be proficient in math, English and math. The other things I think will come. If you cannot read, you are definitely in a deficient place. There you'll experience a wall because everything's based on that. Whether you're in the trades, whether you're want a career, even if you have a job, at any level, you got to be able to read. You have to be able to speak well. You have to communicate, and that's all a part of English.
Yeah.
All a part of language.
So English and math.
English and math.
How about science? Because science is something that, it's something that challenges also like religion and so many other things,
You know what? I say the most important one is math. And that's because that's what my background.
We're shocked.
Right.
Shocker.
But mathematics, English, put mathematics and English, you have science there.
Right.
And that's a great question, by the way, about the religious and spiritual beliefs and academics. There are many, many, many scientists that believe that the way the world has been ordered, it has to be done by a creator. And again, I don't have to be a Christian. I don't have to be a Muslim. I don't have to be Hindu. I don't have to be. It doesn't matter the religion.
Right.
But those kinds of thoughts is what education does. And you said that. Why do you went to Canisius, and why do I have to take these?
I took a lot of classes.
Extemporary classes.
You know what's crazy though? I ended up with a minor in women and gender studies.
Wow.
Really?
Because of so many classes that I took. And I was like, what?
And I could take all the women class that I still don't understand Dr. Morquecho. It's always,
because he calls me Dr. Morquecho.
God. By the way, I've always called her Morquecho or Dr. Morquecho. I've never called.
Even at home, Glory.
Wow.
I've never called her by her first name.
And I like that too, because I mean, you worked hard for that title. You know?
You're kind. I don't know why he does that. I've asked him. I said, "Why do you keep calling me that?" He just does.
I just do. Yeah, I just do.
Yeah. You both have been in leadership roles for a very long time, you know, for so many years. And there's a lot of qualities that a leader must have. And not everyone can be a leader. You know, some people can just be there, be a follower or whatever. But being a leader, you have to incorporate so many different qualities to be able to kind of like function in a society where others can listen to you, look up to you, and you can just be a role model. But what makes a good leader?
It's a really good question. So, leadership is your ability to motivate and influence others. By definition, it's your ability to motivate and influence others. And the hard thing I would add to that also is that you also have to have your person, because who you are as a person is who you are as a leader. Who you are as a person, what you believe, how you feel about things, your own preferences, your own beliefs, maybe your own hang-ups. You bring that to being a leader. And you need a level of respect for other people and respect to you so that we can keep that level of influence and motivation, continuing.
Yeah.
You want to
growing.
sustain that. You want to grow it. You want it. Not everyone is a leader. You're correct. And a lot of people have titles, but they're not quite leaders.
Right.
Or you've seen instances where a person was a leader and they engaged in some behavior that maybe wasn't ethical. It wasn't moral. It was something that possibly was of a concern, and they've lost their leadership ability. So there really is, it's not only a title, it's who you are and what you bring. I believe in leadership teams because I don't think that in every situation you are a leader. You try to be a leader, but you don't do everything right all the time. No one does. We're all just people and we make mistakes. So that a leadership team, a well-developed leadership team is knowing who you are and where your weaknesses are and taking the strengths of others on the leadership team and using that for good purpose.
Doc, I think you're right. I think that there are a lot of people in authority that are not leaders. And vice versa, there are leaders that are not in authority. You take a great, motivating teacher. Think about yourself. What teachers motivated those students? That person may not have the title associate superintendent, assistant superintendent, principal, assistant principal, but that person is a leader because she or he motivates the students to push themselves no matter what obstacles you have. You said, what is a good? I think a good leader listens. You listen to those that have authority over. Like Dr. Morquecho said, I when I was in an authority figure at any place, I would have a good team and I listened to them. I never wanted yes people. I don't want anybody to say, yes, Mr. Mercado, yes, Rafael, yes, Mr. Mercado. I want, hey, Mercado, why did you say we had to do this? Behind closed door, let's have a conversation. I may listen to you. I may listen to you. But at the end, I can say, let me take all this information I have and let me make a decision of the best decision that I can based on everything that they've told me and what I see happening.
Yeah, most definitely, and that's true. That's true. I mean, as a leader, you gotta listen to people.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
if you're not willing to listen to people, nobody's gonna follow your footsteps.
Exactly.
You
Why
know?
would I?
Yeah, why would I even be around? And they're gonna talk about you. They're gonna try to take you down.
Exactly. Exactly.
So and also like we all have faced some tougher moments throughout like just different career paths and so on. And as principals, you have to deal with thousands and thousands of kids. And those kids, you're not just dealing with the kids, but you're also dealing with people outside of the school, which are parents, and their guardians. But like, what were some of the tougher moments that you faced as a principal, and how did you overcome that?
I think one of the hardest thing that I faced, two come into mind, but one of the hardest was being accused of being a racist by some of the parents because I was dealing with their student or their child, which that is extremely hard was for me. It almost, that was young in my career as an administrator. It almost devastated me that to a point that I said, you know what, I'm going to quit. Thank the good Lord that I had good mentors and that we were able to work through. And they asked me some questions, and then they made me realize this person accused me of being racist against their son, and they happened to be a mix of Latino and Black. And I went back home after I talked to my mentor, and I looked at a picture of my family. I go from green eye, pointy nose to black in my family. And I look, how can I be racist if my whole family is the spectrum? But that was hard. That was hard because I never wanted to be accused of anything that I wasn't, because I wanted to do a good job. That's one. I don't know if you have one.
Well, I think it's also hard, if I can piggyback on
Yeah.
what you're saying, when you have high expectations
Right.
and you're pushing kids. Sometimes the kids don't want to be pushed, and sometimes the parents don't want to have you push their kids for learning and to advance.
Right.
And so sometimes they'll say things, they'll accuse, they'll blame.
Right.
They don't want to, it's possibly an escape, maybe, that they don't want to do the work. They're trying to get out of it. So
Yeah.
it's hard.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to say for me was undoubtedly, and it's still hard to talk about, is the violence, the senseless violence that would take place in the community
Right.
or in schools. The way kids would treat each other, the way, I don't know, we had kids that were killed,
Yeah.
and it's awful. It's awful.
Yeah.
I could tell you stories, and if I told you, I would cry right now to this day. There are sometimes I can't even talk about it because just it's some of the things that we never knew were going on in the homes, or maybe that were experienced with kids in the neighborhoods. It was just there was senseless. There was no reason for it.
I think death was, besides being accused, losing a student.
Mm-hmm. We've been to many
Many funerals.
many wakes.
Yeah.
And it's just tragic.
I remember when I was at hashtag. Remember I don't know if it's the one girl. I think it was a girl. The boy. They lost their sibling at Delaware Park.
Yes.
When that one person was driving and something happened. Yeah. And today also, with the school shootings and stuff like that, how would you? I mean, there's nothing you can really do because those people are just psycho. They get into the school and they do what they have to do.
Right.
But like, what message would you have to the school board, for them to work harder in order to bring some extra layers of security, to help those kids, in cases like this?
It's a great question. I think I heard it best from the superintendent in Niagara Falls School District. His name is Mark Glory. He's a legend. He's
Mark Glory?
He is. Have you met him? He's the superintendent. Yeah, Mark Glory. And he said that you're never finished with security, that you always have to add layers and you have to monitor the security. Is it enough? How do we increase? How do we improve? And the hard thing for schools now is that I don't know if people know this, but the New York State Education Department will allow only a certain number of students to get services. So that very often schools and school districts, their hands are tied by the number of services and the kind of services that they're willing to pay for, that they can help, and it becomes a financial burden. And now I do think they haven't reevaluated that percentage or the number of students that can receive special education services or that can receive, extra services outside of the school if their needs are intensive. So I think that we have to flag kids. I hate to say it, we have to pay attention and we have to listen to kids and I was always grateful for students at any school I was ever at, because very often the kids are aware of what's happening with each other. They know what's happening and they know more than the adults know. So I was grateful to kids who would call or would send an email or whose parent would call and say, my daughter's telling me that this student has a weapon in school, or this student is unfortunately feeling like they're in a crisis and could kill themselves. Right. And so then at least we could act on their behalf. Right. But it's a lot to monitor and it's a lot of pressure on schools, because that is the most tragic thing that could happen, would be a school shooting or an act of violence in the school.
Yeah, speaking of it, like, school just opened. Right. And in Minnesota, something happened at a Catholic.
I think it was the third day in school. Day.
Yeah, like that is sick.
And besides the mental crisis that we're seeing in the United States, and you said it when you asked that question, layered, and that we're beginning to get involved and have been involved for quite some time, more specifically with a couple of companies that deal with security, that deal with safety, a layer approach to these important, because security is just as important as the curriculum. You can't have a curriculum, you can't have instruction without those constituents, the parents, the teachers, the students, the administrator feeling safe. And if you ask the question, what would you tell school boards? What would you tell the governor? What would you tell the state and the local authority? Please take a look at what can be done. Move away from politics. Take a look what can be done to secure our schools. If we can secure a bank, if we can secure the state house, if we can secure an airport, we can definitely secure our students.
Yeah, I like how you put that. Because people value those things more than the lives of the kids, and not knowing that those kids are the future of this country. That is a good way to put it, and I hope they're listening.
Well, if they're not, we're going to be screaming at it from the top.
Most definitely.
And it's selfish for me as an educator, as well as with that. We care about the kids. That's our passion. Kids, students.
Over that.
What?
I lost sleep over that.
Oh, yes. When she was at Hutch Tech.
You have no idea.
We had lockdowns and everything.
Right.
We had 1,200 students and 150 adults in the building. And I have to tell you, I made safety plans. We had an excellent safety team. We all came together. We met regularly. We had posts
with the resources that you had.
Yeah, we used our resources. Yeah. We developed our own plan that was pretty. I felt comfortable and they were a little more confident that we could execute that even if people weren't at work that day.
Right.
You know, if we had a backup, if someone wasn't here who was going to be the second person to cover and the third person to cover
Redundancies, yeah.
just in case.
And with
And
technology,
that's the leadership team.
right?
She mentioned
Yes.
that.
Exactly.
Yep.
And with the technology now, there's no reason why we shouldn't have these broad discussion that it shouldn't be that we harden these places and leave our schools vulnerable. You know, do a vulnerability analysis, and at least you know where you need to
Where the holes.
where the holes are.
Yes. Where are the gaps?
Where the
Where
gaps-
something could happen? Is
Right.
there a door that's not closed? You know, is someone propping that door open and leaving it open maybe for food deliveries where anyone could come in and out because it's not supervised?
Yeah, that's true. We're not gonna get there because there's another thing that happened here in Buffalo. It was, I think, the school that's closer to like MLK Park, where there was this door that was completely open, and someone spoke about it on social media. It was a detective, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yes.
And that went viral. You
Yeah.
know, it really made a lot of parents not even trust in the school system when it came to their kids. So I want to jump straight into what you guys are doing. You know, just consulting, and that is something that you guys are doing to give back, not just to the fellow principals who are principals today, but also the students in general. What was the purpose, though, behind starting that business?
Again, it was to give back, to continue to be of service and to support kids, adults at any level, no matter where they are. I've always believed that leadership is developed. Leadership can be taught. Leadership can be a focus. And I think to develop leaders is crucial. I've seen leadership among every single age of student. And so that can be developed among, it's not age related. Could be students, could be teachers,
Right.
new principals, assistant principals, and then it could be district level.
Yeah.
And
Go
sorry,
ahead.
it's also developing a leadership team who have the skills and know how to come together and be cohesive and work together collaboratively.
I was part of doing this consulting business was selfish for me. And it's because I can't sit down. I'm always want to be learning. I always want to be researching. I always would like to be able to focus on the task at hand.
Right.
If you take a look in Western New York only, don't even think about the entire nation. There's a huge turnover of principals, assistant principals, associate superintendent, boards. We've learned a few things, and I think combined is about 65 years. We've learned a few things that we want to assist those that want to. Some people are going to say, no, I know everything. I don't need you. But we wanted to say, hey, if you want help, if you think that, don't feel that, let me say something before. Many of us in leadership position feel that we are dumb or ignorant if we ask for help. The ignorance comes when you don't ask for help because you don't know everything. And that's what we want to do. We want to assist those that want help in developing a safety and security document, incorporate it into their everyday lives, develop academic targets. I mean, we just want to give back, and that's why we ended up coming up with this idea after we retired.
Yeah, and I hope everything is going well for you guys. What organizations would you say have you been working with the most throughout the community of Buffalo?
Well, through the community of Buffalo, what we've been to a couple of conferences, and it's hard, like start a business. you have to go out there and make yourself known. We had to take some time off for personal reason for about 7 to 8 months. We're just relaunching it now. The places we've done a couple of what's the conference in New York City that we went to? School Boards Association. We went there. We went. Right now, we are associated with Ink Lab and S4. We're looking at developing other targeted organizations. I have been doing a lot of just spreading the word as to what we can do and how we can help. And it's an exciting time for us, but it also means that we have to develop the clientele. We've only had a handful of clienteles right now. We're hoping to get more. So.
Right. Most definitely.
We're mentoring 2 administrators right now.
Yeah.
Sitting administrators in Buffalo schools.
Yeah.
Off the record, we're doing that. And we also were working on a committee in Buffalo for the multilingual learners. Again, we had to stop that. My poor mom ended up with cancer. So that we did stop that for a period of time, but we'll rejuvenate and get back.
Yeah, most definitely. And and just because we're getting closer to the end, throughout like your life experiences, you have experienced a lot of different obstacles and so on, but you never stopped. And I always talk about this on my podcast. The most important thing is just the discipline, the just being able to have that resilience and just not giving up on your dream. And when I teach to the youth, or when I put out the message to your youth, is I always tell them like those are some of the key factors that will help you, succeed in whatever that you set your mind to. So for you guys, if you just for the message for the youth, like what message would you give them in regards for them to keep pushing and just never give up?
I'd say to let them know that they're more capable than they think they are. Sometimes, life struggles and challenges, and sometimes kids think that they're not able to do it or it's too hard. And for them to just continue to keep trying and build on the successes, because I've always believed that success breeds success.
Being Dominican, baseball is and was and will be important to me. When I used to play ball and I got into a slump, there were always coaches there saying, Rafael, you're throwing your hip down, you're bending your knees. If I had any advice for anyone, not only youth, but anyone, failure doesn't constitute defeat. Failure is a great opportunity to learn. Get mentors, get people, surround yourself with people that are going to support you. They'll tell you the truth, but that are going to support you in those times of failure. Because to me, failure is not an option. I'm going to fail. It's the growth mindset that Morkecha would use at Tech. You're going to fail, but the road is not a straight line. If successful people would say that failure was a godsend because they were able to learn for the next time how not to fall into that pit.
Yeah, most definitely. Failure is a good thing.
That's a good thing. I know it's counterintuitive, but it is.
Most definitely. You say you had some questions for me?
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
That's right. So here, let me pretend I have a book or my notes. What motivates you to keep going in this genre?
This is a
Question
story.
number 1, by the way.
Yes, yep. This is a story that I always like to tell everybody. So like when I first started the podcast, actually, and even doing photography, it has always been one of my passions, just images. I love to watch images. Like when I see a picture or a video, I like to analyze it and how did they do this? How there's so much stuff behind this, you know? But speaking of the podcast itself, when I first started the podcast, uh, I was actually at Canisius. I was going to because I finished at 2022. So at Canisius in 2021, as I was doing my communication major, I was always given like projects. Oh, go interview this person, go do this. And every time I'm sitting down with a person, especially like the older people, like they had so much to say, but they never had people to tell that story to, you know. And I was so like, how can I say it? I was so interested in like just interviewing them and listening to them and kind of hearing their stories. And then I was like, you know what? Let me start something that's gonna allow people to share their stories, like a platform that's gonna be, you know, where I can sit down with people. That's why I told you before we started. Like my goal is for us to be authentic because people really don't have the space to be authentic enough, you know, and a lot of time that they go through. So as I was doing the podcast, I was just doing nonsense at first. When I first started, just looking for viral moments, you know, like
right.
I'll bring people who talk about nonsense. And I really thought about it. I'm like, no, that's not me because every time, and the people that I always surround myself with are people who really, they value their reputation, you know, and me doing all this other stuff, it's not really gonna keep them around any longer. So I told myself, you know what? I'm gonna start doing podcasts where I bring people, guests. It don't matter if you're an artist, if it don't matter if you're an entrepreneur, it don't matter if you're going through something, but we're gonna sit down and have real life conversations. And yeah, and that's actually my driving factor, you know.
Second question. I don't know, and pardon me because I just came up with these questions after I saw one of your podcasts. Have you done a podcast with your mom?
No, unfortunately, because she doesn't speak English.
It doesn't. Well, you could have the little
The subtitles.
subtitles.
Yeah.
Or you can have a
great.
translator sit next to and you, because I think I, again, being selfish, I'm interested in what type of answers your mom would have if you ask some of these questions you've asked your guests here. What type of answer she has?
Oh yeah, I think that's something. I could start a podcast with her
Yes,
and my father.
Exactly.
That would be a dope. I never thought about that.
Amazing. That's a great.
You know, we can even do it in my language and then just put
Yes.
subtitles.
Right,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Okay, good.
Awesome.
So I'm expecting
that.
to see your lovely mother and
You have to
father.
text me.
Yeah,
Watch.
sitting
I'll
down.
send it to you.
Yes,
Yeah.
I always do. Yeah.
I'll send it to you most
Okay.
definitely. Wow, man, I never thought about that.
There you go.
Yeah, because that's also important too because you know we're not here for a very long time.
We're not.
You know, and those stories sometimes, like you said, my mother maybe she may have something to say, and leave maybe like a message behind for me and my siblings, and
A message in the bottle for your nephew.
yeah, most definitely the newborn baby.
Yeah, exactly.
Today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, it's crazy. I text her, so that's my woman right there. So like I text her, I'm like, my sister just gave birth. You know, as soon as I think I just told everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and it's crazy how like as soon as we sat down, they called in,
The baby's born.
the baby's born.
Yes.
You
It's a
know,
good day.
we're gonna mark this day, 8:30. You guys are the witnesses.
That's
Yes.
right. I marked it. It was.
said hi to your
What was
sister?
it? I said 10:40. 12:40. Yeah, 12:40.
Yeah, 12:40, yeah.
12:40. August 30th.
Yeah, that's documented.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You know, it was
you.
an honor having you both on this show. And like I always say, appreciate to all the guests that have been showing love. Go ahead and subscribe. Don't forget to like, comment, and also I'm gonna put your information in the description.
Yeah.
So that way, you know, whoever is looking for not just consulting in like school education, but also business in general.
Yeah, we'll send you our information and,
Yep.
and our logo. So
Most definitely. Thank you so much, guys.
you.
Like I always say, I'm going to continue to work as hard as I can to bring amazing guests on this show. I hope you enjoyed this. And if you did, hit the subscribe button. Thank you so much and peace.